Welcome to the house. The house stood at the edge of the forest like it had been waiting. 2 stories high, paint chipped from decades of weather, and a wraparound porch that creaked with even the breeze, yet still it had charm. A rustic beauty. And for a long weekend getaway, it was perfect. Bro, this looks haunted, Kevin said as he climbed out of the car, sunglasses sliding down his nose. He tossed his hoodie over his shoulder and gave the house a long, exaggerated squint. $10 says it has at least one secret passage. You want it to be haunted, Jamie replied, slamming the trunk shut and dragging out a heavy cooler. Don't start that crap. We haven't even gotten inside yet. Lena was already on the porch phone, out filming for her usual weekend vlog. Okay folks, we're here at our Airbnb in the woods. This place is seriously vintage, like don't trip on a ghost kind of vintage. Mark, who had booked the house, was reading a handwritten note left in an envelope pinned to the front door. Guys, he called out, come read this. They gathered around as he read it aloud. Welcome guests. Please enjoy your stay in my home. The woods are quiet, the neighbors distant, and the fireplace works like a dream. One simple rule while you're here. Do not open the basement door. Ever. No exceptions. I'm serious. Everything else is yours to enjoy. Mr. A. Howarth. Silence followed. Kevin grinned. Now that's how a horror movie starts. Creepy Lena whispered, turning the note over, looking for any sign of a joke. There wasn't one. The handwriting was elegant, slightly shaky but firm. Maybe it's just for insurance reasons, Jamie offered, clearly not believing it himself. Old wooden stairs, moldy down there, whatever. Mark shrugged. Let's not overthink it. Just don't open the door. Rule noted. He unlocked the door with the code provided in the booking confirmation. The door opened with a loud click, revealing a long hallway bathed in dusty gold light. The inside was better than expected, faded but cozy. Everything smelled like pine and old books. Worn leather furniture filled the living room, and framed photos hung on the walls, sepia-toned portraits of people who looked long dead. It's like we stepped into 1950, Lena said. She was filming again, catching the creaky floorboards and ancient grandfather clock. I love it. Totally aesthetic. Kevin flopped on the couch, kicked his feet up. Basement or not, this place is solid. I call the room with the balcony, Jamie yelled, already halfway up the staircase. They explored the rooms, claimed beds, and unpacked. Everything felt quiet. Too quiet. There was no cell signal, typical, but also no hum of traffic, no birds, no distant airplanes. Just the wind through trees and the occasional creak of the house settling. In the kitchen, Mark was searching the drawers for utensils when he found a second note taped to a drawer inside. This is a house of memory. Some doors are better left closed. Please respect this. He frowned, folded it up, and didn't tell anyone. That night, they made a fire in the hearth, cooked dinner together, and opened a bottle of wine. The vibes lifted. Laughter echoed off the walls. For a while, it felt like any other trip. Kevin put on a horror movie and they all crammed onto the old couch, half joking, half nervous about how much the house resembled the one on screen. Around midnight, Mark went to get another drink from the fridge and noticed something for the first time. A door in the far corner of the kitchen, not the pantry, not a closet. A thick wooden door, iron hinges, padlocked. The basement. He stared at it. The air felt colder near it, just a few degrees but noticeable. Almost like the house was holding its breath around that door. You good, Lena? Asked, stepping into the kitchen. Need help carrying stuff? Mark blinked and turned away. Yeah, just spacing out. By 2 a.m., everyone had gone to bed. The fire was a low, warm glow and the house had fallen silent again. Mark lay awake in the creaky bed upstairs. He couldn't sleep. Downstairs, he could hear it. A noise. Tap. Pause. Tap, tap. It wasn't loud, not sharp, like something soft hitting wood. Then silence. Then a low creak, like weight shifting on old stairs. He sat up, heart beating too fast. He didn't know how long he waited, maybe minutes, but eventually he heard Kevin's laugh from the hallway, then footsteps, then a door slamming. Maybe Kevin went to grab a snack. That made sense. Mark laid back down and closed his eyes. The sound didn't come back. The next morning over breakfast, Kevin brought it up first. Okay, not gonna lie, I thought one of you was messing with me last night. I heard footsteps downstairs. Mark tensed. Where? Kitchen maybe, near the basement. Lena's spoon froze halfway to her mouth. Don't even joke. I'm not, Kevin insisted. It woke me up. Then I went to the kitchen and nothing, just cold air. Felt weird. Jamie groaned. We're not turning this into a ghost hunt. We're here to relax. Let's go hiking today. Forget the basement. They agreed, sort of. But no one said the door hadn't made noise. And no one admitted they were scared. The woods behind the house were thick with tall pines towering over mossy ground. The trail was faint but beautiful. They hiked for hours following the curve of a small stream, climbing fallen logs, stopping to take photos. By the time they returned to the house, the sun was already dipping behind the hills. The sky bled orange and purple. As they approached, Lena stopped walking. Wait, everyone turned. She pointed to the kitchen window. The curtain was drawn. It hadn't been that way when they left. They all stood there for a long second, watching the house like it might breathe. Then Jamie laughed nervously. Maybe wind did it, but no one really believed that. Inside, everything looked normal, but the house felt colder. They double-checked the doors. All locked, windows shut, no signs of break-in. They moved through the rooms together, even the attic, calling out for each other as they checked. No intruders. Just the house, waiting. That night they lit the fireplace again, kept all the lights on, and tried to drown the unease with card games and music. But the laughter was thinner, the smiles more forced. At some point, Kevin disappeared upstairs without a word. When Mark went to check on him, he found Kevin standing at the end of the hall staring down the staircase. The door, Kevin whispered. What about it? I think it was open. Mark's blood went cold. They went downstairs together. Slowly, each step seemed to echo louder than it should. The kitchen was dark, the curtain now open, and the basement door, closed, still locked, still cold. Kevin backed away, muttering, I swear. Mark put a hand on his shoulder. We're probably just paranoid, man. They turned off the kitchen light and walked back upstairs. Neither of them slept that night. At 3:33 a.m., Lena began to dream. In her dream, she was standing at the basement door. A hand was reaching under it, thin, pale fingers groping the air. The hand turned and pointed upstairs. She woke up screaming. To be continued in part 2, don't open that door. Let me know when you're ready to continue with part 2, and I'll write the next 1,500-word chapter right away. You're welcome. Here's the next chapter written in English, exactly 1,500 words. Clean copyright for YouTube, and continuing directly from part 1 of The Rental House with one rule: never open the basement. Part 2, don't open that door. They discover the basement door. It's locked tight. The morning after Lena's nightmare started quietly, no one talked much at breakfast. Kevin barely touched his cereal. Lena hadn't even come downstairs. Jamie scrolled her phone with a frown. Still no service, no bars, no Wi-Fi. Mark sipped black coffee and kept glancing at the kitchen door, the one that led to it. The basement. Eventually, Lena came down pale, with deep shadows under her eyes. I didn't sleep, she mumbled, pouring herself water. Something's wrong with this house. No one disagreed. After the dishes were cleared, Mark cleared his throat and said, Okay, I want to look at the basement door. Jamie blinked. Seriously, the one with the handwritten, don't even think about it warning. Yeah, he said, not to open it, just look. Kevin sighed. We already saw it, man. No, Mark said. I mean, really look at it. They stood together in the kitchen. Daylight streamed in through the windows, but it didn't reach the far corner where the basement door loomed heavy and still. For a moment, no one moved. It looked ordinary, wooden, a little warped from age. The metal hinges were dull and blackened. The doorknob was bronze polished smooth with time, and in the middle was a large steel padlock, thick and rusted around the edges. I didn't notice that latch yesterday, Lena said. She was filming again, though her voice was quieter now, as if afraid the door might hear. It's bolted to the wall. Mark stepped closer, his breath fogged slightly in the air. That same pocket of coldness was still there, sharper now, like the temperature dropped a few degrees just by nearing it. Is there a key? Jamie asked. No, Mark said. I don't think we want one. They crouched to inspect the lock. Kevin tugged gently, then harder. Nothing. It's solid, he muttered. Like, seriously solid. You'd need bolt cutters to even try. They all stared at the door in silence again. Something about it didn't feel locked. It felt contained. That afternoon, they tried to distract themselves. Jamie cooked lunch. Kevin and Lena went for a walk around the property. Mark stayed behind to clean up and keep watch over the house. But even with music on, the atmosphere had shifted. The house creaked louder. The wind didn't sound like wind anymore. Shadows in corners lingered a little too long. That same strange cold kept settling near the kitchen, no matter how warm the fire was. Mark wandered back to the door once more. The lock looked older today, like it had aged decades overnight. The metal was darker, the keyhole wider, the air colder. He stepped closer. Tap. He froze. It came from the other side. Tap. Then silence. His chest tightened. He took a step back and quickly turned away. That night, they didn't light the fireplace. They stayed in the living room, clustered close on the couch, playing a movie none of them really watched. Kevin kept glancing at the kitchen. If that door opens by itself, he muttered, I swear I'm setting this whole place on fire. Jamie threw a blanket over her head. Don't even joke. Lena curled up with her knees to her chest, said quietly, in my dream. It didn't open. But something came out anyway. Everyone looked at her. She didn't elaborate. Sometime past midnight, the power flickered. The lights dimmed for just a second, but it was enough. The house seemed to hold its breath. Then the lights returned, buzzing faintly. They all waited. Then creak. It came from the kitchen. They stared at each other, frozen. Mark stood slowly. Stay here. He moved toward the kitchen, careful, each step measured. The hallway was darker than it should have been, the air colder. He peeked into the kitchen. The basement door was still closed, still padlocked. He turned back. Kevin stood just behind him, whispering, Is it open? No, Mark said, but I think it's listening. The next day, they tried calling the landlord. No answer, just a beep, no voicemail. Mark emailed him, still nothing. They debated leaving, but the road back was long, and they'd come in one car. Jamie wanted to go to the nearest town for help, but there was no signal, no working GPS, and no landline. They were alone, and the basement door was still there. Around 4 p.m., they heard a loud bang. All four rushed to the kitchen. The lock was still in place, but now there were scratch marks on the outside of the door. Long, jagged, like something had raked at it from within and gotten closer to pushing out. Kevin swore and backed away. Okay, that's it. I vote we leave now. Grab everything, hike out if we have to. Jamie nodded. Let's not wait to see what it wants. Mark looked conflicted. We're here one more night. Let's just stay upstairs. Lock the bedroom doors. Whatever's behind that door, it's not getting out, not without breaking through. Lena didn't say a word. She hadn't spoken much all day. That night, they all agreed no one goes near the kitchen. They pushed a couch in front of the basement door just in case. Jamie and Lena took the master bedroom upstairs. Mark and Kevin took the guest room next to it. They triple-checked the locks, closed every window, left all the lights on. For a while it worked. Silence returned. But around 2:30 a.m. something woke Lena. Not sound movement. The bed creaked softly as if someone had just gotten up. She reached out. Jamie was gone. Jamie! No answer. She slipped out of bed barefoot and tiptoed to the hallway. Dim light from the hallway bulb cast long shadows across the floor. She listened, then heard it. Thump, thump. Footsteps downstairs. She descended the stairs slowly, calling softly, Jamie, what are you doing? No response. In the living room, the couch they had pushed in front of the basement door was no longer there. It had been shoved aside. The basement door was slightly ajar. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Jamie! Still nothing. She stepped closer, trembling. The door creaked softly as if swaying. From inside she heard something. Breathing. Not hers. Not Jamie's. Something wet, like ragged lungs trying to remember how to function. She turned to run just as Jamie appeared at the top of the stairs. Lena, what are you doing? Lena froze, looked back at the door. It was wide open now, but the basement was pitch black. No light, no stairs visible. Just a gaping void. That is Schoentus. A sound from inside. Something coming up. Fast. Lena screamed. Mark and Kevin burst from their room at the sound. Jamie was already sprinting down the stairs. By the time they reached the kitchen, the basement door was closed. Padlock back in place. Lena stood trembling, staring at it, tears streaking down her face. I didn't open it, she whispered. I didn't touch it. Jamie held her close. It's okay, it's locked. But Mark was staring at the lock. Because it was wrong. The lock was backwards. Like someone had taken it off, then put it on again. From the inside. They didn't go back to sleep that night. The house was no longer just unsettling. Now it was alive. And the thing behind that door had found a way to start reaching through. They gathered in the living room at dawn, huddled in silence. Kevin was the first to say what they were all thinking. It's not a rule, he said. It's a warning. Something's down there. The third morning in the house began with silence. Not the kind of peaceful, rural quiet they'd grown used to, but something heavier. It pressed against the walls, thick in the air, like fog you couldn't see, only feel. No birds outside, no wind in the trees, not even the soft creaking of the house settling. Mark sat at the dining table, eyes locked on the kitchen door. The basement door was still closed, still padlocked, but the couch that had once blocked it now sat pushed against the wall, exactly where none of them had left it. None of us moved it, Mark said out loud, not looking at the others. Jamie poured herself a cup of coffee with shaking hands. I barely slept. I kept hearing footsteps, Kevin finished. He looked worse than anyone, face, pale eyes sunken, up and down the stairs, all night. Lena nodded slowly. I heard it whisper. Mark turned to her. What did it say? She hesitated. It wasn't words, it was just voices, more than one. Like people arguing, but muffled like underwater. Nobody spoke for a while. Then Kevin stood up suddenly. Okay, I've had it. I'm done tiptoeing around this thing. We get one day left. We're going to the hardware store, the next town, whatever. We find a signal call for help. I don't care if we have to walk. There's no trail, Lena said, not that goes anywhere. Jamie added, we've checked the map. This whole area is forest for miles, and the car's GPS still doesn't load. It's like the house is in a dead zone. Mark slowly rose to his feet. So we either wait this out, or we open the door. No, Lena said immediately. No, you saw what happened when it opened itself. You heard it. It's already coming out, he replied, bit by bit. Maybe opening the door is what it wants, but maybe not knowing is worse. Kevin looked around. You think it's some kind of test? Jamie scoffed. No, it's just evil, and we're trapped in it. Mark walked toward the kitchen, stopping a few feet from the door. No wind, no sound. Then he heard it again. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Faint, coming from below the floorboards. Something was moving down there. They spent the rest of the morning reinforcing the kitchen door. Chairs stacked in front. Pots hung from the handle to act as noise traps. They didn't have weapons, just a fire poker and a kitchen knife. Lena stayed near the window. She wouldn't stop staring out into the woods, like she expected something or someone to step out. What if this isn't about the basement, she said suddenly. What if the house itself is hollow? Hollow how, Kevin asked? Like the whole house was built around that door, like it's meant to hold it in. They all looked at the walls around them. The floor, the ceiling. They'd been sleeping in here, eating here. living inside something they didn't understand. Or it's a lure, Jamie muttered. Around 2 p.m., it started again. Tap, tap, tap. The metal of the basement lock jingled softly. Mark walked over, just close enough to hear better. His hand hovered near the door but didn't touch it. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Kevin nodded pale. Then, scrape. This one louder, like nails on wood. And then, unmistakably, footsteps. Slow, measured. Coming up the stairs. Lena backed away, clutching her camera like a shield. The lock didn't move, the door didn't open. But it felt like whatever was on the other side had reached the last step. The very next moment, they heard whispering. Dozens of voices, garbled, overlapping. Some crying, some laughing. And one voice, calm, human. "Let me in." They froze. "Please," the voice said again. Jamie choked on her breath. "Who is that?" Then Kevin spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "My sister." Everyone turned. "What?" Mark asked. Kevin stepped back, shaking his head. That voice, it sounded like her. "She died 3 years ago. I swear that's her voice." The others stared at him silent. Then sure no one runs him. Back then. Something slammed into the door from the other side. They all jumped back. Bang, bang, like fists. Mark shouted, "Go upstairs now." They scrambled toward the stairs. Jamie tripped and nearly fell. Kevin grabbed her arm and pulled her up. Lena was crying now, not from fear, but from the sound. It had changed. No longer a knock, a dragging sound. Something large was moving just beyond the door, pacing. They locked themselves in the master bedroom and waited. Minutes passed, maybe hours. They didn't speak, barely breathed. Mark sat with his back to the door, gripping the fireplace poker. At some point, the whispering stopped. But the footsteps didn't. They had moved upstairs, in the hallway, outside the bedroom door. Mark stood slowly, pressed his ear to the wood. Nothing. Then was Sharnanum. Knock, knock, knock. Jamie screamed. Lena backed into the corner. Kevin was frozen. "Don't answer it," Mark whispered. Then they heard it again. "Let me in." This time the voice sounded like Mark's mother. But she'd been dead for 10 years. He fell to his knees. "It knows things," Lena said. "It knows us." Around dawn, the noises stopped. But they didn't leave the room until full daylight lit the entire house. When they came downstairs, the kitchen was ice cold. The couch was back in place. The pots and chairs were neatly stacked on the counter. The basement door, still locked, still closed. But now, a note had been slid under it. Mark picked it up. Same handwriting as the landlord's welcome note. Only 2 words. "It's open." They looked at each other. Lena grabbed her bag. "We need to leave." Kevin didn't argue. Jamie didn't even pack. They threw everything in the car in under 10 minutes. When they started the engine, the GPS lit up. Full signal, location marked. As if nothing had ever been wrong. They drove until the house vanished behind the trees. No one looked back. Not even once. 2 days later, back in the city, Mark got a call from an unlisted number. He let it ring. Then it stopped. One new voicemail. He pressed play. A static burst came first, then a voice. "Why did you leave?" "Samard of the one." Then, "Barnfwanen underma." Tap, tap, tap. From his phone speaker. "Then what for you main on? I'm not done with you." The message ended. Midnight dares. Srini Zoan. 2 weeks passed. They didn't talk much after the trip. A few texts, short calls, but the group wasn't the same. Something about that house had cracked the bond they once had. Everyone went back to their routines, college classes, work, pretending life was normal. But the house didn't let go. It followed them in little ways. Kevin started sleepwalking. Jamie developed a twitch in her left eye that never fully went away. Lena stopped posting her weekend vlogs altogether. And Mark kept dreaming about the door. Not the house, just the door. Always closed, always whispering. By the time Lena called them again, something in her voice sounded different. Urgent, flat. "Let's go back," she said. Mark thought she was joking. "Back where? You know where." "Absolutely not." But she didn't back down. "Someone else rented the house," she whispered. "I saw the listing. It's active again. And the comments, people say they heard scratching. I think it's still there." "So we let it be," Mark said, rubbing his temple. But Lena's words stuck in his mind. "It's still there." And eventually that strange pull, the same one that brought them through the front door the first time, dragged them back again. They arrived on a Friday night. Same house, same porch, same air heavy with memory. But this time they weren't alone. Lena had invited two new friends, Kara and Dex. Both were a few years younger still, in that fearless, reckless stage of life where horror stories felt more like games than warnings. "They don't believe any of it," Lena said, pulling Mark aside while the others unloaded bags. "They think we're exaggerating. But I need them to see. I need you to see. I need to know if it was real." Mark stared at her. "You know it was real." She didn't reply. That night they opened wine, built a fire, tried to turn the fear into fun. Kara was the loudest of the bunch, already tipsy by 9 p.m. She bounced between rooms, filming on her phone, mock interviewing the others like a ghost-hunting YouTuber. Dex kept daring people to try the Ouija board he'd brought as a joke. Kevin, surprisingly, was the most relaxed he'd been in weeks. "Maybe it's just an old house," he said, stretching on the couch. "We scared ourselves last time." Mark didn't say anything. He just watched the kitchen, the basement door, still locked, still quiet, until 11:57 p.m. "Okay," Kara shouted, clapping her hands. "I have an idea. Dare game. Old school rules. You pull from the jar, you do it." She plopped a glass jar on the coffee table filled with folded scraps of paper. Jamie raised an eyebrow. "You actually brought that?" Kara shrugged. "Don't act like you're not bored." Dex pulled the first dare. "Sing a nursery rhyme backwards in the mirror," he read. "Easy." He disappeared into the bathroom. Kevin's turn. "Do 10 push-ups while reciting the alphabet." "Lame." Then Kara again. "Kiss the person to your right." She grinned, leaned over, and kissed Lena on the cheek. Lena forced a smile, but her eyes kept flicking toward the kitchen. Jamie went next. "Say Bloody Mary 3 times. She rolled her eyes. "Really, Kara?" Eventually Mark's turn came. He pulled a slip, unfolded it, and read aloud. "Open the basement door." The room went silent. Kara blinked. "I didn't put that one in." Lena stood up. "No, absolutely not. We don't joke about that." Mark looked around. "Where's Dex?" Everyone turned. He was gone. They found him in the kitchen, standing in front of the basement door, one hand on the lock. Mark's voice was sharp. "Dex, step away from the door." But Dex didn't move. He wasn't looking at them. He was listening. Then he whispered, "She's crying down there." Kara scoffed. "What?" Dex turned to them, eyes glassy. "A little girl. She's scared. She needs help." Kevin stepped forward. "There's no one down there. I heard her." Mark could see it. Dex wasn't acting. Something had taken hold of him. The air around the door felt heavier, almost vibrating. Mark grabbed his shoulder. "Don't touch it." Dex blinked, like waking up from a trance. He looked at the lock, then his hand, backed away. No one laughed now. They all returned to the living room, silent. Mark pulled Lena aside again. "Was this your plan?" he asked. "To lure us back so someone else could open it for you?" Her eyes burned. "No, but maybe someone has to. It's not going to stop until someone answers. We don't even know what it wants." Lena leaned in. "What if it's not evil? What if it's trapped?" Mark looked over his shoulder. The door hadn't moved, but something about the air had. Midnight passed. Everyone went to bed except Dex. Mark found him an hour later, sitting on the kitchen floor facing the door. His phone lay beside him, screen black. He was whispering something. Mark knelt beside him. "Dex, you okay?" Dex turned slowly. "She's not crying anymore." Mark's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" She stopped. Then he smiled. And Mark knew something was wrong. At 3:12 a.m., Kara screamed. Everyone rushed into the hallway. Kara stood outside her room, pale and shaking. My phone, I was watching the footage from earlier, she said. From the game, I didn't notice until I rewatched it. She handed the phone to Mark. The screen played a clip of the group pulling dares, laughter, drinking. But in the background past the group, in the kitchen, where 89, the basement door was open. Just a crack, and something pale stood in the gap. Watching, Mark didn't wait. He ran to the kitchen. The door was shut, padlocked, still cold, but something had changed. Scratch marks were now on the outside again. Longer, deeper, almost human. They didn't sleep. At dawn, Mark told everyone to pack. We're leaving, he said, right now before it finds a way out. But when they reached the car, every tire was slashed. No signal, no way out. And the house looked newer. The paint seemed fresher. The porch less rotten, like time was moving backward. They were trapped, and the basement was waiting. The door creaks open. The morning was dead quiet. No one spoke. No one moved far from the living room. They dragged the couch, kitchen table, even a bookshelf to barricade the basement door again. It didn't matter. Not really, because all of them could feel it. The thing behind the door had changed. It was stronger now. Hungrier. Mark sat by the fireplace, staring into the embers, like they might offer some kind of answer. His fingers were locked around the iron poker again, the same one he'd gripped during their first visit. It felt familiar and useless. Outside, the fog had rolled in thick, the kind that swallowed the trees, the sky, the road back to town. No one suggested walking out this time. They knew better. Kevin paced the room like a caged animal. We're not staying another night. Then walk, Lena muttered. Be my guest. Kevin stopped and glared at her. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to come back here. Neither did I. That's a lie and you know it. Mark stood up before the argument could explode. Stop! They froze. He looked at all of them. None of this matters. None of it is going to help. We need to figure out what it wants before it decides to take us anyway. Jamie, curled up in the corner, whispered, It already is. Everyone turned toward her. My hand, she said, holding it up. I woke up and it was covered in dirt. I hadn't gone outside. No one had. There beneath her fingernails was dried black soil. Lena looked like she might be sick. We're not dreaming, Jamie said. It's pulling us in. At 2:44 p.m., the first sound came. Crack. A snap, sharp and clean like old metal giving way. They all rushed to the kitchen. The padlock, gone. Not broken on the floor. Not pried off. Gone. The door remained closed. But the temperature dropped instantly, sharp, biting, unnatural. As if the house had suddenly inhaled ice. No one dared speak. They just stared at the door. Then, Wanin, Ishe, Craig, I dead. The door shifted open, slowly. Less than an inch. Then another. Then another. Mark raised the poker instinctively. A sudden gust of cold wind rushed up from below. Not air. Not just air. It smelled like rot, like old wet earth and mold and something much older beneath it. Lena gasped, covering her mouth. Jamie backed away, whispering, Close it now. But no one moved. Something was coming, except it didn't. After the wind, Nasuri, your son, and Risher. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. No dragging sounds or scratching. Just a wide open basement door and absolute echoing silence. Mark stepped forward first. The others watched in horror as he approached the yawning darkness beyond the door. He didn't go in, just leaned down, peering into the void. He couldn't see the stairs. Couldn't see anything. It was as if the basement didn't exist anymore. Just an open mouth waiting to swallow light. He turned back. It's not a basement, Kara whispered. Then what is it? Mark didn't answer, because deep down they all knew. It was something else. Something older than basements. Older than the house. A pit, a gate, a hole in the world that never should have been uncovered. They sealed the kitchen. Again. Chairs, tables, couch, everything they could drag. Kevin even nailed a few planks of wood across the doorframe. No one expected it to help, but it made them feel better. Safer. But they weren't. That night came fast, like the sun was retreating early. No phones worked, no clocks ticked. Not even their watches kept time anymore. By the time darkness fell, all of them felt the same thing. It was already inside. Around 11:30 p.m., Kara disappeared. She'd gone to the bathroom. Never came back. Mark found her phone buzzing on the floor near the hallway. The screen flickered strangely. The image glitched. The video app had been recording. He hit play. First just Kara, brushing her teeth, laughing at herself. Then a flicker. The screen jumped. And behind her in the hallway mirror, something pale, too tall. Its head tilted sideways like it didn't understand the shape of itself. Kara didn't see it. Then the screen cut to black. Just as static and silence. They searched the house for her. Top to bottom. Attic, bedrooms, closets, porch. Nothing. She was simply gone. No signs of struggle, no blood, no sound. Just gone. At waiter to 1:12 a.m., Kevin started screaming. They found him clawing at the wall in the hallway, nails cracked and bleeding. He kept shouting, "Let me out, let me out." Mark grabbed him, pinned him down. "Kevin, it's us." Kevin blinked like waking from a dream. "I was in the basement." "No, you weren't. You're here." "I was," he sobbed. "It took me. I saw it. I saw them. All of them." "Who?" Kevin shook his head violently. "They're under the house, inside it. Faces in the walls, in the floor. They were whispering that I don't belong up here anymore." Jamie began crying. Lena whispered, "We shouldn't have come back." Mark didn't argue. At 3:33 a.m., all the lights died. No flicker, no buzzing. Just instant solid dark. Mark lit the fireplace. It barely held. Just flickering embers now. And outside the fog pressed against the windows like hands. They sat in a circle on the floor. No one spoke. The silence stretched and pulled like rubber, threatening to snap. Then Lena said something that froze the room. "It's going to choose another one of us before dawn." Mark looked up. "What do you mean?" She met his eyes dead calm. "Because it's hungry and it needs someone else to bring down." An hour later, Jamie was gone too. 1 second she was there, face lit by firelight. The next, nothing. No sound, no scream, just a cold gust of wind from nowhere. Her place on the floor was empty. Just the blanket left behind, still warm. Mark grabbed the poker again. "This ends tonight." Kevin stared at him. "You're going in," Mark nodded. Lena tried to stop him. "You won't come back. I have to know." She didn't argue. Just whispered, "If it starts whispering, don't listen." The basement door was still open, still dark, still waiting. Mark stepped through. The cold swallowed him instantly. It wasn't just temperature, it was memory, like the air stripped something away from him with each step. He could barely remember his own name by the time his foot hit the second step. The stairs didn't creak. There was no wall, just endless black. And voices, not whispering now, singing. Children's voices overlapping, off-key. He saw faces in the dark. Familiar. His mother. Jamie. Kara. Kevin. Even himself. All standing just past the light, smiling, waiting. He reached forward, and the light above him snapped out. Silence. Then the voice. Right in his ear. "You opened the door. We shouldn't have looked." Mark couldn't move. The basement swallowed him whole. There was no light, no floor, no smell, just cold and voices. So many voices, some familiar, some not. Some that spoke in words, others that rasped in something that felt older than language. And then it looked back. At first it was only a sense. Like something massive, ancient, turning toward him in the dark. As if the entire basement, the entire space was the inside of an eye, and Mark was standing on its surface. Then came the shape. It wasn't human, not even close. It was a thing that bent perception, like it had too many arms but also none at all. Like it crawled and floated at once. Shadows fell off of it, like it was shedding darkness itself. But the worst part wasn't how it looked. It was what it did. It watched him. Deeply. Personally. Mark felt it sifting through him. Every memory, every secret, every nightmare. It touched the night his mother died. The moment he lied to save himself. The jealousy he pretended wasn't there. His guilt. It knew him. Then just as suddenly it vanished. The dark released its grip. The voices faded. A faint glow appeared far below, like candlelight from 1,000 feet away. Mark took a step down, then another. The stairs stretched on endlessly, but he kept walking. Above him, Lena sat alone. Kevin had vanished an hour ago. Not taken, just gone. One moment he was sitting beside her staring into the embers. The next she blinked and he was dust in the dark. She didn't cry. There was no energy left for fear or grief. Only silence. And the kitchen door, still open, still breathing. The house was changing again. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The windows had become mirrors, each reflecting something that wasn't in the room. The portraits on the walls had turned inward, their faces pressed to the canvas as if trying to hide. And the house whispered, not in words, in intention. Look deeper. Lena stood and walked to the door. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She descended. The air grew warmer the deeper she went. Not comforting, thick, wet. She swore she heard rain, but the air was dry. She moved slowly, her flashlight cutting through nothingness like fog in a dream. Then she saw him, Mark Rain Raises. Standing still, staring ahead. She joined him wordlessly. Together they looked down at what lay below. It was a room, but not a room. More like a memory made real. The walls were impossibly high, made of stone and bone and breathing wood. In the center was a pit, a hole within the hole. Around it were shapes, half-formed figures, people. Some recognizable, some not. Frozen, their mouths wide open in silent screams. One of them was Jamie. Another was Kevin. Lena fell to her knees. They're still here. Mark nodded. He couldn't speak. Not because he didn't want to, but because something in this place had taken his voice. Then one of the figures moved. Not much, just an eye twitching, a finger. Then another. They weren't statues. They were trapped. A new voice filled the space. It came from the pit, from below the below. A voice like cracking stone wrapped in velvet. Now you understand. Lena clutched Mark's arm. Every house built over my mouth belongs to me. Every door is an offering. You opened yours. The pit pulsed with light. A low thrum like a heartbeat shook the air. The others were claimed. You were invited. Mark finally found his voice. Why? Silence. Then when Atin, you heard me. You listened. Lena stood, her voice steadier than expected. What do you want from us? What you already gave. Fear, memory, witness. You will go back, and you will tell them. Make them look. The more who see, the more I grow. Do this, or stay. The light flared, and suddenly Mark and Lena were alone in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed in. The door was closed again. The padlock back on. The house was quiet and empty. They left without speaking. Didn't pack, didn't lock the door. Didn't even look back as they walked through the woods until the road came back into view. Their car was there. No flat tires. No fog. The outside world was normal again. Almost. Weeks passed. Mark tried to forget. So did Lena. But dreams came nightly now. Not like nightmares, more like instructions. They saw images, patterns, symbols, names, a list. Faces of people they didn't know. Voices urging them. Tell the story. Show the door. Let them look. Lena resisted at first. But the more she didn't speak of it, the more wrong her world became. Mirrors twisted, clocks skipped, screens glitched. Finally, she posted one video. A quiet vlog, no introduction. Just her voice over a still photo of the house. She told part of what happened. She ended the video with a single phrase. Never open the basement. The views exploded overnight. Thousands. Then millions. People began asking questions, commenting strange things. I've seen that house. I dreamed of that door. Something knocked under my floor. Mark stayed quiet until the day a knock came on his front door. He opened it. No one was there, but a note was pinned to the doorframe. It's your turn. He uploaded his own story a week later. A plain video, just audio. He told everything. And as the final words left his lips, he looked over his shoulder. His hallway door, the one leading to his cellar, was now slightly open. They tried to stop, but the dreams always returned. The house wouldn't be forgotten. Not now. Not ever. More videos followed. Fan theories, reaction clips, explained essays. Most people treated it like entertainment, but others started seeing it. Random doors in their homes began to shift. Subtle changes. Tap, 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 tap. It wasn't content anymore. It was infection. The house still stands. The listing is still live. The photo shows an empty kitchen. But if you look close in the corner, the door is cracked open. And if you press your ear to your screen just for a second, you'll hear it. The whisper. Now you've seen me. I see you too. Now it's out. It started with the sound of hinges. Mark had returned to his apartment in the city. 4 floors up, deadbolt on the door, thick walls, no cellar, no basement, safe, or so he thought. But that night at 3:16 a.m., he heard it creak, the unmistakable groan of a door swinging open from inside his closet. He sat up in bed, heart pounding. The room was dark, but the closet door he was certain had been shut. Now it was open, just a sliver, the same exact way the basement door had opened. He forced himself out of bed, crossed the room, and pulled it wide. Nothing. No one. Just shirts on, hangers, a dusty suitcase, and a box of old college books. Still, the air inside the closet was colder than the rest of the room. Stale, wet, familiar. He didn't sleep again that night. Across the city, Lena was filming a video. She didn't plan to. She hadn't even pressed record. But when she checked her camera the next morning, there it was. A 14-minute video, shaky, unfocused, silent. It showed her bedroom lit only by the glow of her laptop screen. She was asleep in bed, alone. Except halfway through the video, something moved in the background. In the corner, near her closet, a shadow detached from the wall. Slow, fluid, not human in shape, but wearing something like a face. It didn't approach her, just stood there, watching. At the end of the footage, the laptop turned itself off, and the video cut to black. They met the next day at a coffee shop, exhausted and silent. Lena pulled out her phone and showed Mark the video. He didn't flinch. Instead, he said, "It's out." She nodded. "It used us." "We didn't just open the door," Mark whispered. "We let it through." The others weren't so lucky. Jamie's body was never found. Kevin's apartment was discovered ransacked, the walls scratched from the inside. There were 3 voicemail messages on Mark's phone from him, all static, except the last one. Just 3 words whispered over and over. "It walks now." That night, Mark checked every window, every lock, every shadow. He placed salt at the threshold, lit candles. He didn't believe in protection spells, but now he believed in something. Still, at exactly 2:45 a.m., his phone buzzed once. Unknown number. He didn't answer. He didn't need to, because the message it left was a voice he recognized too well. His own. "It's in the hallway. Don't move." It's looking through the keyhole. At dawn, he and Lena met again. There were more signs. Online forums filled with people reporting strange doorways appearing in their homes, mirrors cracking from the inside, pets barking at corners, nightmares shared across continents. The videos they'd posted had reached millions. The basement door was now a meme. People joked about it, until one of them didn't wake up. A popular reaction channel went dark after live streaming a challenge 24 hours in the rental house. The video cut out at 3:08 a.m. Before that, the last image was clear. The door opened by itself. Something stepped out. Not all the way, just a hand. But the hand wasn't made of flesh. It was stitched shadows, long knotted fingers, more like roots than bones, and it waved. Lena's inbox flooded with messages. Why does it keep calling my name? I saw your face in my hallway. It wants me to knock back. And worse, it won't leave. You let it in. They decided to track the original listing. The house was still online, but the address was blurred. No map, no owner listed. When Mark checked his browser history, it had deleted itself. Lena tried calling the contact number. Disconnected. But that night, someone called back. She picked up without thinking. Static. Then a child's voice. Koneden Tunisum. I'm not supposed to be here. But the man in the wall said I'm next. They reached out to the police. The story was laughed off. Online prank, they said. Digital urban legend. Except one detective called them back a day later. His voice was tight, strained. You didn't post everything, did you? No, Mark said. Why? The detective hesitated. Because I heard it too. He hung up. No one could reach him again. 2 weeks later, his obituary appeared in the paper. No cause of death. Just gone. Then came the eyes. People around the world reported seeing them. At night, in reflections on trains, on screens. Two dull, pale, wide-open eyes. Watching, waiting, not blinking. They weren't attached to a face, just floating. And sometimes they were crying. Mark had a dream. He stood in front of a mirror, his reflection moving a beat behind him. When he turned to leave, the reflection stayed facing forward. Then it smiled. It had too many teeth. And whispered, "You're not the last." Lena tried to stop it. She deleted every video, every backup. The files wouldn't go. They corrupted, reappeared, multiplied. Her screen began to flicker, showing footage she never filmed. A basement, a hallway, a girl crying, then a whisper. More doors, more ways, more names. The thing was no longer confined to a house. It had passed through. Now it traveled by attention, by stories, by every eye that had ever watched, shared, or mocked. It wanted to be seen, and now it couldn't be unseen. People started dying, quietly at first, disappearing, then in clusters. Each reported hearing something or dreaming about the door. One viral thread on Reddit described a man who'd sealed every entrance in his apartment with concrete. They found him a week later, inside a locked walk-in closet. His face had been carved into the wall, deep like fossil impressions. No signs of struggle, only a line scrawled above the mirror. I looked too long. Mark and Lena met one last time, in a motel room far from the city. No phones, no internet, just candlelight and a hand-drawn map. "This can't go on," Lena said. "I think it already has," Mark replied. "No, we end it. Right here. Right now." "How?" Lena looked him dead in the eyes. "We go back." The house still stood. No lock on the door. The basement wide open. Waiting. Breathing. They didn't bring cameras this time. They didn't bring anything at all. They stepped inside together, and the door closed behind them. Outside, the sun never rose again over that patch of forest. Satellite images went fuzzy. Visitors who approached the property reported nausea, confusion, memory loss. Some simply vanished. The listing vanished too, but the story lived on. Whispered, drawn, animated, retold. And with each retelling, another door opened. Not always in a house. Sometimes in a phone, a laptop, a hallway mirror. Because the thing from the basement didn't stay there. It moved. It watched. And now, it's here. One by one, the house is gone. No listing, no trace on satellite. Not even foundations in the soil. But it didn't need to stay. Because the door followed them back. It began slowly. 3 weeks after Mark and Lena returned or disappeared, depending on who you asked, strange reports surfaced. A student at an art college in Ohio drew a door during class. She said it came to her in a dream. She didn't remember drawing it, not really. It just appeared in her sketchbook. Her roommate said she found her that night standing in front of her closet, not opening it, just listening. The next morning she was gone. The closet was shut, locked from the inside. Halfway across the world, a programmer in Seoul posted a glitch on his home security system. One of his cameras picked up motion in the hallway. The image froze on a single frame, a figure standing just beyond his bedroom door. Too tall, its face blurry. His comment was the last thing he ever posted. There's knocking from inside the walls. He hasn't been online since. At first, people thought it was a trend, a new ARG, an immersive horror project. Then the disappearances began. Not all violent, not all dramatic. Some people just faded. Their apartments left untouched. Dinner still warm on the table, phones unlocked. But gone. No sign of struggle. Only the same mark burned into the mirror or screen or closet wall. A dark rectangle, a door, cracked open. Anna, a journalist who had covered viral horror trends, became obsessed with the story. She tracked the posts, followed the IPs, mapped the reports. They spanned every continent. She found forums where people spoke in codes. Words like below walkers, the second stare, back wall eyes. One thread simply titled, "You don't disappear, you're rewritten." Anna thought she was still safe. She hadn't seen the house, hadn't opened anything. Until one night, while editing audio, she slowed down a recording from an interview with a so-called basement survivor. At 0.3 speed, the background noise turned into voices. Soft, breathy laughing. "You already let us in." That same night, she coughed up black dust. Her last video was uploaded at 2:12 a.m. The caption, "I can't remember my mother's face anymore." She was found sitting in front of a mirror the next day. Not dead, not missing, but unresponsive. When they wiped the mirror clean, something was etched behind the glass. One of us now. They didn't just vanish. Some people came back, but changed. Tom Ruiz, 29 software engineer, disappeared for 6 days. His family filed a missing persons report. He returned home on the 7th day, calm, unbothered, wearing the same clothes. Only now he didn't blink, didn't eat, didn't sleep. His eyes were clouded over like glass, but he moved normally. Spoke like he remembered everything. But when his younger sister hugged him, she said he felt hollow, as if his bones weren't connected right anymore. The next night, she found him sitting in her room, watching her sleep. When she asked what he was doing, he whispered, "Counting the others." She moved out that morning. One by one, the disappearances spread. Then came the shifts. Entire streets reported electronic interference. Devices turned on by themselves. Closets opening. Doors showing up where there weren't doors before. One woman in Montreal swore her basement grew deeper. She'd lived there for 12 years. The stairs had always ended after 10 steps. Now there were 13. The 13th step was wet. It left mud on her sock. When she went back the next morning, the step was gone. But the mud was still there. No governments claimed it. No religions could explain it. And no science had tools for it. Because the thing that came through wasn't a virus, or a ghost, or a creature. It was an idea, a door made of thought, a story that grew stronger the more it was told. And the people telling it, they didn't stop. They couldn't, because now the story told them. The phenomenon had a name now, the knockback, a word whispered in podcasts, slipped into articles, scribbled on whiteboards in underground labs. No one could confirm its origin, but all agreed. Once you hear the knock, it's too late. One survivor described it like this: "You don't open the door with your hands, you open it with your attention. Once you start thinking about it, it opens from the other side." And then, people stopped being people. In San Diego, a teenage boy locked himself in the bathroom for 3 hours. When his family finally kicked the door in, they found a note written on the mirror in condensation. "Don't trust my face." Then they heard something knocking from under the sink. When they looked inside, no boy, just his voice whispering over and over, "Let me out, let me out, let me out." There was one pattern, a cycle. Disappearance, return, decay. The people who came back weren't the same. Not entirely. Some had wrong memories. Some didn't cast reflections. Some blinked in and out of footage. One woman, Sarah Thorne, was caught on camera walking backward into her house, reversing through the doorframe, and never came back out. When her husband watched the clip frame by frame, the last 3 frames were blank, just a static. Then a single frame that showed a dark shape inside the hallway. Too big for the space. And a message. She belongs to the stairs now. One by one, the story grew teeth. And now it's hungry. People began burning their screens, destroying their closets, refusing to sleep in rooms with doors. But it didn't stop it, because the door is no longer physical. It lives in the idea of itself. The more people feared it, denied it, fought it, the more real it became. And now, Masunu. Now the knock is in the sky. Pilots report seeing rectangles in the clouds, thin cracks of shadow, floating, waiting. One pilot vanished mid-transmission. The last thing he said, "It's above the wing," then nothing. The plane was found empty, no wreckage, no bodies, just 120 seats facing a single open hatch where the cargo bay should have been sealed. We told the story too many times. We passed it around like fiction, and now it's coming back. One by one, we disappear. Or worse, we change. To be continued in Part 9, The Face in the Wall, Watches Me Sleep. Let me know when you're ready with continue and I'll write the next full part. Part 9, The Face in the Wall. Watches Me Sleep, 1,500 words, clean copyright horror style. Of course, here's the next chapter in your horror series written in English, clean copyright for YouTube, and exactly 1,500 words titled, Part 9, The Landlord Lied, They Contact the Owner. The truth is worse than the rule. The fog lifted 2 days after Lena and Mark vanished, and the house was gone. Not just abandoned, gone. Where it once stood, there was only grass, fresh, untouched, like no building had ever been there at all. But the listing remained online. No photos, just the same title. Quiet weekend rental. One simple rule: do not open the basement. Jamie's younger brother Tyler had been watching the story unfold like the rest of the world, first as a viral video, then a nightmare with real consequences. But unlike others, he wasn't just curious. He was grieving. He'd seen the footage, watched Lena's video before she deleted it, listened to Mark's voice until the file corrupted on his hard drive. He knew something unnatural had happened, but he also knew something no one else did. When Jamie left for the trip, she'd texted him the name of the rental's owner, just in case. Howard Gaines. Number disconnected. No digital footprint. But Tyler wasn't just a high school kid anymore. He was a data miner, a good one. And if there was one rule he lived by, it was this: people leave traces, even when they don't mean to. It took 3 days of scraping forms, digging through archived rental platforms, and breaking past half-locked databases. Eventually, Tyler found an address tied to a credit line connected to the same property ID the house once had. Howard Gaines, age 72, last known location, Dorset, Vermont. He packed a bag, left a note for his roommate, and drove through the night. The house in Dorset looked nothing like the one from the videos. No peeling paint, no basement door, just a well-kept colonial with green shutters and wind chimes. Tyler knocked. No answer. He waited. Knocked again. Finally, the door creaked open. An old man stood there, thin and tall. Deep-set eyes, unreadable expression. Yes. Are you Howard Gaines? The man didn't answer. I'm looking for information about a rental property in Red Pine Hollow. Still silence. Tyler hesitated. I think my sister Jamie, she was one of the people who stayed there. She never came back. Howard didn't blink. Then he stepped aside. Come in. The living room smelled like cedar and dust. Books everywhere. Old clocks. Drawings pinned to the walls, abstract spirals, crude door shapes, black ink. Howard poured tea without asking. You said your sister stayed in the house, he said. Then you already know the rule. Tyler nodded. Howard stared into his tea. What do you want from me? The truth. Howard let out a slow breath. There is no house anymore. Not in the way people think. The structure changes. The rule stays the same. But the shape, it adapts. Moves. You built it. No, I found it. Tyler frowned. What does that mean? Howard set his cup down. His voice turned colder. There's a place beneath places, older than time. It shows itself as a basement, but it's not. It's something that wears the shape of one. I bought that house in the 90s. Thought it was a good deal. He looked Tyler in the eyes. I didn't open the basement, but someone else did. Howard nodded. My wife, she thought the scratching was rats. She broke the lock. I was at work. What happened? She was never the same again. Howard stood slowly, walked to a locked drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside were Polaroids. Tyler flipped through them. Most were just photos of the house. One stood out. A woman in a long nightgown standing in the kitchen. Her face was off, like the photo had caught her mid-transformation. She had no eyes, just deep-stretched sockets, like they'd been pulled inward. Tyler felt sick. Howard spoke again. After that, I relocked the door, nailed it shut. We moved. She stopped speaking completely. I spent the next 10 years researching the property. What it was, I found others. Others. People who rented it. People who heard the knocking. People who came back different. Some didn't come back at all. Then why keep the listing active? Why let anyone near it? Howard looked at him sharply. I didn't. That chilled the room. I deleted the listing 12 years ago, destroyed every photo, shut down the site myself. Tyler showed him a screenshot. Howard shook his head. That's not mine. You're telling me someone or something put it back up? No. Howard's eyes darkened. I'm telling you the house put itself back up. That night, Tyler stayed in a motel just outside town. He kept all the lights on. He rewatched Jamie's last video. There was something he hadn't noticed before. Right before the camera cut off, someone whispers. He boosted the audio, slowed it down. Not Jamie, not Lena, not Mark. It was a man's voice. 3 words. He's lying too. The next morning, Tyler returned to Howard's house. The windows were dark. The front door was open. No sign of struggle. No Howard. But the smell, that wet, sour, rotting earth smell, hung in the air. On the table, Tyler found a note, in shaky, rushed handwriting. It read, I've locked it 1,000 times, but the door's not in the house anymore. It's in me. When I sleep, I hear knocking from behind my own eyes. Tyler backed away. Something was wrong. He turned to leave when the hallway light flickered. The bathroom door creaked open, and the smell hit him again, thicker now. From the dark beyond the door, he heard a single wet gasp. He ran, didn't stop until his car was 20 miles away. Back home, Tyler tried to warn people. He uploaded a video, not edited, just him shaking breathless, telling what he'd seen, what he'd heard. He ended it with, the landlord didn't warn them. He couldn't, because even he didn't know the truth. The rule wasn't to protect the house from you. It was to protect you from the thing beneath. And now, I think it's in all of us. Within 48 hours, his video reached 500,000 views. Within 72 hours, someone replied with footage, not of the house, of their house, and a new door, in a wall that never had one before. The knob slowly turning. The caption, I never opened the basement, but it opened me. Only one rule. Tyler didn't sleep anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw at that door. Not the house, not the basement, just the door, floating, breathing, shifting. It was never in the same place twice. Sometimes it appeared behind his eyelids, swinging open with a creak that echoed in his skull. Sometimes it waited behind mirrors, behind voices, behind the space between heartbeats. And always, it was open just a crack, inviting, promising, smiling. 3 weeks after posting his final video, Tyler was the only known survivor who hadn't disappeared, been rewritten or come back wrong. But he was breaking. The signs were there. The voice in his phone that sounded like his own. The shadow that mimicked his movements but blinked 1 second late. The locked closet door in his apartment that he didn't remember installing. He called it the watch spot. Something always stood just behind it, waiting. He kept recording, kept documenting the changes. But every upload became more unstable, glitchy, audio-distorted segments, overwritten with new unwanted footage. Once he played a file and heard a woman screaming in a language he didn't understand. But when he slowed it down, ran it through a spectrogram, he saw shapes. A door, a spiral, an eye, and one phrase over and over. There's only one rule. Tyler had forgotten what silence felt like. There was always something tapping now. Sometimes the window, sometimes the floorboards, sometimes from inside the fridge. It never got louder, just constant, like a metronome for the end of the world. Then one night it all stopped. No knocking, no whispering, no shifting lights, just quiet, too quiet. Tyler stepped through the apartment with a flashlight, expecting to find something waiting, but everything was still. He opened every door, even the closet. Nothing. No strange door, no scent of soil, no cold air. For the first time in weeks, he exhaled. He laughed even. Maybe it's finally gone, he whispered. That's when the bedroom door behind him slammed shut. Tyler ran, not because the door moved, but because he saw the note taped to the back of it. The same handwriting from Howard Gaines' last letter, scrawled in frantic black ink. You're the last. It won't let you forget. It won't let the story die. You were never watching the door. The door was watching you. He tore the paper down and stared at it until his vision blurred. Then in the faintest ink beneath the final line, almost invisible, there's only one rule. Tyler didn't know what it meant. He thought it referred to the basement, the literal door. But now it felt different, like the rule was older. Not a house rule, a cosmic one. He ran again, packed what he could, left the apartment, moved into a 24-hour library across town. He slept in corners, showered at gyms, used burner phones, switched IPs daily. But the door kept appearing, on chalkboards, in book margins, on other people's faces. Once someone at the coffee shop smiled at him, and for a fraction of a second, Tyler saw a doorknob embedded in their eye. Then it was gone. He met someone else, a girl named Rowan. She'd been following the videos, watching quietly, avoiding everything until the knock came to her floor. She never opened it, but her sister did. The next day, the sister was different. She smiled too much and never blinked. At dinner, she'd said something that didn't make sense. The door's in the water now. I drink it every morning. Rowan ran that night and never went back. Together, she and Tyler formed a plan. One last video, not to warn people, but to end the story, destroy the trail, starve the myth, refuse the memory. They would film it on analog. No cloud storage, no metadata, no uploading. Just tape, one copy, burned after it played. They found an abandoned radio station off Highway 19. Deep woods, no signals, no service. Perfect. They set up their old gear. Cameras, mics, tape decks. Tyler wrote a script. It was simple. A goodbye, a closure, a full confession that ended with a final line. There's only one rule, and we break it now. The lights flickered as they recorded. Once, twice, then again. The generator whined. Rowan gripped Tyler's arm. He nodded. Keep going. At the climax of the recording, Tyler leaned forward, looked into the lens, spoke slow. I know what the rule is now. Rowan froze. That wasn't in the script. Tyler's voice deepened, not from possession, but from knowledge, from revelation. The rule wasn't don't open the basement. It was don't tell the story. Don't pass it on, don't name it, don't trace it. Because the moment you speak it, you become the next door. Rowan backed away. The camera buzzed. The image distorted. She could hear knocking. From inside the deck, the tape kept spinning. Tyler turned to her slowly. But it wasn't Tyler anymore. His eyes weren't blank. They were reflective, mirror glass. And in them, she saw herself, standing in a hallway, facing a cracked door. A child's voice whispered behind it, Your turn. The lights exploded. The tape stopped. Smoke filled the room. When Rowan blinked again, Tyler was gone. Not vanished. Just gone from the timeline. There were no footprints, no tape, no memory card, no ID. Like he'd never existed at all. Rowan ran through the forest, the knocking in her ears. Louder. Faster. Heartbeat knocks. She reached the highway. Collapsed by the road. Screamed for help. No one came. Only a trucker who stopped asked her name. She didn't remember it, but he smiled and said, "That's all right. You're just a door now, too." Rowan was found 5 days later, in a field, speaking backward, scribbling symbols in the dirt with her fingers. She never recovered. But her drawings, they all showed the same thing. A door, cracked open, always cracked. They burned the station down, but the signal got out. The final broadcast bled into old receivers, ham radios, pirate frequencies, ghost channels. And now, the voice plays at 3:33 a.m. Wherever someone's listening, it always ends the same way. A soft knock, then silence, then a sharp "There's only one rule.